Good evening and welcome to the City of Wilmington's City Council virtual meeting. Today is April 2nd, 2020. We opened up our public chat room and for public to come in promptly at 5. And the closeout for signing up for public comment was ended at 5:45, and there are no individuals who have signed up for public comments. So we will then wait until to start our business portion of the City Council meeting, virtual meeting, promptly at 6:30. Please stay tuned.
Didn't you say my hand was up? Not now, right?
Good evening and welcome to the City of Wilmington City Council business meeting, virtual meeting. Today is April 2nd, and we are hosting our meetings virtually due to the COVID-19 and under the directive order of Governor Carney's state of emergency. With that, I'd like to call our meeting to order. We will have our opening prayer by Andrea Queen.
In humility, gratitude, and great joy, we open our hearts, our eyes, our ears, our minds, as we meet to serve our city with the intent on doing good work, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibilities to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. As trusted servants, we seek guidance on our deliberations. And on our efforts, may we act wisely and well and strive to reach our higher potential.
We will now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One
one
nation,
nation,
which
under
stands
God,
one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray. Councilwoman Gray. Councilman Congo.
Here.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Present.
Councilwoman Harley. Councilman Turner.
Here.
Councilwoman McCoy.
Here.
Councilman Johnson. Councilman Johnson. Councilman Friel.
Councilman Johnson responded.
Councilman Friel.
Here.
Councilman Adams.
Here.
Councilwoman Dixon.
Here.
Councilman Guy.
Here.
Councilwoman Walsh. And President Shabazz.
Present.
10 present and 3 absent.
I think Councilwoman Gray is here. Did you get her?
I did not.
Councilwoman
Does
Gray.
she
are
have
you-
me absent?
Okay,
I'm
with Councilwoman Gray, 11 present and 2 absent. Thank you.
thank you.
We will have the reading of the minutes of our March 19th meeting.
City Council met on virtual regular session, the above date at 6:30 p.m. President Hanifa Shabazz presiding. The opening prayer was done by Andrea.
Move the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second, the minutes be accepted as written on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes accepted. We will now have the reading of the minutes of our previous meeting of March 26th.
March 26, 2020, City Council met on virtual regular session, the above date at 6 p.m. President Hanifa Shabazz presiding. The opening prayer was done by Andrea
I
Queen.
move the minutes be accepted as written.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second, the minutes be accepted as written on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Minutes accepted. Committee reports.
March 25th, 2020, President and members of Council of City of Wilmington. Ladies and gentlemen, we by virtual joint meeting of Community Development, Urban Planning, and Health and Aging and Disability Committees, to whom was referred substitute number 1 to ordinance number 20006, entitled an ordinance to amend chapter 34 of the city code regarding bed bugs, extermination, and treatment. I've given this ordinance careful study and recommend council vote on it accordingly. Respectfully submitted, those members present from the Community Development Urban Planning, Councilwoman Dixon, Councilwoman McCoy, Councilman Congo, Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Turner, President Shabazz, absent with leave, Councilwoman Oliver, and from Health, Aging, and Disability, Those members present: Councilman Congo, Councilman Johnson, Councilwoman Dixon, Councilman Turner, President Shabazz, and absent with leave, Councilman Adams.
Madam President, I move that the committee report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that report be received, recorded, and filed on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. We now have the treasurer's report.
April 2nd, 2020, total investment, $803,921.28. Total cash on hand, $12,021,869.08. Grand total, $408,825,790.36. Velda Jones Potter, City Treasurer.
I move the treasury report be received, recorded, and filed.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that report be
Second.
recorded and filed on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Accept the motion to move to accept our non-legislative business.
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second to accept our non-legislative business on the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. In view of the circumstances of the COVID-19, there would be no in-person presentations, of course, but we would like to take a moment to recognize those who would, who a resolution would have been recognizing them. We have from Councilwoman Harling, recognizing Mary Jean Avery for her longtime work in the sports field of cheerleading. We have also Councilman Turner recognizing Mr. Bernay Mayo. We also have a resolution sponsored by myself recognizing that the Black Maternal Health Week. We also had a non-legislative resolution from Councilwoman Oliver recognizing Benedictine Sister Margaret Mary Gaynor from the Sacred Heart Village too. We're now moving to the legislative business part of our agenda. Any legislation this evening, Councilwoman Gray?
None, Madam President.
Councilmember Congo?
Nothing tonight, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Oliver?
Yes, Madam President. I have an ordinance to present on your behalf and call for a third and final reading.
Ordinance number 20-006, agenda 4762, an ordinance to amend chapter 34 of the city code regarding bed bug extermination and treatment.
Madam President, I have a substitute to present in order of the ordinance.
Substitute number 2 to ordinance number 20-006, revision 2 to agenda 4762, an ordinance to amend chapter 34 of the city code regarding bed bug extermination and treatment.
Madam President, I move this be known as an enacting clause of the substitute ordinance and call for a yea and nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that be known as the enacting clause, the substitute ordinance, and call for a yea and nay vote on the question.
This substitute ordinance is being presented by City Council for the councils to review the approval. Substitute number 2 to ordinance 20-006 that would prescribe the duties of landlords and tenants with regard to the treatment and control of bed bugs. For any rental agreement for the dwelling unit entered into a renewal after the effective date of this ordinance, the landlord or any other person authorized to enter into such agreement shall provide such a tenant an information brochure on the bed bug prevention and treatment prepared by the Department of License and Inspections, L&I.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Oliver, for presenting this legislation on my behalf. It's something we have been trying to work through. We had a rash of bed bugs and infestations throughout, mainly in our senior high rises, and this was a prevention to put into place to make sure there's process on how to deal with it, and also how to educate and make sure there's a document out there to our residents to know what to do in case there was an infestation. Do you have any comments from members of council? Seeing none, Councilman Johnson.
I just wanted to commend those folks who worked with us, especially in license and inspection. This is a very important issue, given obviously what's going on right now. Stable housing is very important, and a bed bug infestation can be very serious, very, very serious. And in fact, it can not only cause a financial harm, it can cause an emotional harm and a health hazard. So, I know this legislation was baked in before we entered this crisis, but now that we're in a crisis, I think it's even more timely. So I think it's a great starting point. I think as we go on, we can always add more. But I really commend the department heads, especially Commissioner Starkey, for working with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I see any other comments from members of council? Seeing none, do we have comments from members of the public? I believe there are. Ms. Renee Spurl. Renee?
Hello. Hello. Can you hear it right now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make a comment that I know when brought into committee, Frank Brevort had wanted to speak to the committee members in regards to his experience with helping the Delaware Apartment Association put together their information regarding bed bugs, as well as the brochure that they put together to be distributed through the Delaware Apartment Association. He did not get a chance to speak, I think due to technical difficulties. I think the information that he had to share with the committee would have been very valuable in terms of updating the ordinance. And I do believe that he sent out a letter to all the council members outlining what his recommendations were. I hope council members received that letter and took that into account as they're considering this ordinance, and maybe if there should be any updates made. Personally, my concern with the ordinance is in regards to when we're able to identify where an infestation started once it's reported in a multifamily building. I have had one experience with bed bugs, and I had a professional extermination company come out. Fortunately for me, it did not extend into any other units, but they could pinpoint exactly where in the apartment unit the bed bug infestation started. And to my understanding, for other landlords who have had similar instances with bed bugs in multifamily buildings, the professional companies were able to come out and determine exactly which unit the infestation started, even when it spread to other units. And they determine it based on the amount of bed bugs located in one unit, while you may only have one or two bed bugs in another unit. And if that's the case, and if we can identify which unit it started in, and a lot of times the tenants will even admit to it. In my instance, my tenant admitted into bringing a used piece of furniture into her unit that she suspected had bed bugs in it. And in that instance, when a tenant actually admits that they caused the damage, it doesn't seem fair that the landlord would be responsible for treatment in a multifamily building. If they can pinpoint where and have proof where it started, that tenant should be responsible for it. And I don't think this ordinance necessarily addresses that. So I wanted to voice that concern, as well as, like I said, that Frank Brevort did not get a chance to speak and share his information that he had, which is very valuable to the committee before this was passed before council to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there any other? Okay, get it. Wait a minute. Was any other members of the public? That seeing none? Any other comments from members of council? Councilman Congo?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Yes, I did receive that email from Frank. He wanted us to consider sending this back to committee so that some of the concerns of his and lady who just spoke could be addressed. Is that to your liking? So that I'm not sure if this is, I know this is a very urgent and important matter, but I do want to make sure that we're fair and that we get this right. So I do suggest that we send it back to committee just so we can be updated and be in the know of the latest information that was brought to us. We don't want to do anything that's unfair and put any unfair burden on the landlords or the tenants. Again, I think this is a great piece of legislation. I think we just have to make sure that we get it right. So I would recommend that we send this back to committee. Thank you.
Councilwoman Oliver. Well, Councilwoman Oliver, you could be last after everyone else because you're presenting the legislation. Councilwoman Gray.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I know in the committee meeting, there were some other concerns raised because Commissioner Starkey could not be heard. So I'm all in agreement with this bed bug legislation, but I do know there were a lot of concerns that we were trying to get straight. And I don't know if there's a rush, but it would be best to get it right the first time because it's going to be a financial cost to either the landlord or to the tenant. And could someone tell me what the concerns were in the email? I didn't read the email. Maybe that would be help to determine whether we should recommend going back to committee or not. Thank you.
And I just want to reiterate that Commissioner Starkey was not able to be heard, but he typed in his comments in the chat room and they were read out loud. So his input was taken into consideration. Councilwoman Dixon.
Thank you, Madam President. I have to also, I read through the emails as well, and not just Frank's email, but there's another email that was sent to us too from another law office as well, regarding their distribution about going back to the committee so that the landlords have a fair opportunity to really weigh in on the bed bug issue, since some of them, like Frank, has been working on bed bugs and been on a task force to do that across the state. So they wanted it to go back to, they thought previously that the health, it was going to go to the Healthy Community Subcommittee prior to coming back to the Community Development and Urban Planning Committee to be heard. I will also kind of echo what Councilman Congo said, that I think it would be wise regarding bringing it back to the committee if that's a possibility. But I think that will be probably the best fit to move forward. Thank you.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes. So I'm not sure what other email there was, but I did read Frank's email. He brings up some good points, but his points were actually more germane to that he doesn't believe we need to change anything. If you actually look at what he's saying. And for me, no, I'm pretty upfront. I think that's unacceptable. Because anything we want to touch with landlords, we get pushback. And this has been something that's been fleshed out. They believe they shouldn't be responsible at all, according to his email. And I just frankly think as a council, at some point we have to step up and stand up against landlords and say, look, you're going to have to take more responsibility. We should not put the burden on our citizens who are already financially strapped in, now facing a crisis. So now we're not going to give them bed bug protection. For me, it's just common sense. I understand us wanting to look at it further, and I'm certainly willing to do that. I think we can get this in place. I think we can move past this crisis because our focus is going to have to be on that. And then we can, I think, work on another version or adding more layers to this. I'm certainly in agreement with that. But I just don't want to put off because, we do have to be effective government and get things done. And Commissioner Starkey is behind this. The administration has had input. It went to committee. I just believe it's been fully vetted. And again, I definitely understand Frank's concerns, but I do think we need the protections because the landlord tenant code does not provide enough. And I think this was great legislation. And I agree with my colleagues. It's a start, but I think it should go forward. Let's go to a vote. This is what we're here to do, and let's get this in place. Give people something positive to think about given what's going on right now.
Councilman Turner.
Thank you, Madam President. I would have to agree that during this time, this legislation is definitely needed. When we're talking about COVID-19. But from hearing from Renee that just spoke from the public, this was one of the questions that I rose in the committee was how do we determine where the infestation came from in a multi-unit? And if we have professionals that could come and talk to us and state that they can dictate where the infestation came from, I think we owe it to the public and everyone to make sure that we get it right. Because one of the things that we also brought up in committee was how do we kind of hire an expert into this? So we also factor that into the legislation on these experts coming in and letting us know that they can pinpoint where the infestation came from. And I think we owe it to all of us to do that. I love this legislation, but for that reason, I think that we need to vet it out more. And when we hear talk about technology, if Frank wasn't allowed to get in through technology and other people weren't able to get in to express themselves during the committee, I think that we need a little more time to vet it and allow other people to weigh in.
Well, I just want to speak reference to it was on the inability was, I think it was one gentleman who wanted to speak. His time to speak was not at a public comment time to speak. It wasn't a technical difficulty. It was that he was asking to speak when it wasn't time for public comment to speak. And we held this up before in committee and they gave us all of their information. We took everything that they gave us into consideration. And from our first understanding that there was something just like this COVID-19, how do you pinpoint where it originated from? There's no certification in the industry of extermination of bed bugs that gives any kind of certification as to where it came from, or that a facility has been completely exterminated, cleared from bed bugs. So just like we have the COVID, how do we know where it came from? There has to be some starting point and a point of responsibility. And so as the legislative branch, and my main focus is to always make sure I'm taking care of the citizens that put me in this seat, that I want to make sure that they are protected in such an infestation as of bed bugs that we have experienced. So, and I think we took it back to committee before, we got letters and information, and of course, there's always going to be pushback. But on going up with legislation for the people that we represent, is our focus to make sure that our citizens are well protected and legislation is fair, which I believe it is. But when do we ever get to the point where we say this is what's necessary for our citizens, and we go forward with that? And everyone speaking is speaking from a landlord perspective, not from a citizen's perspective. And Councilwoman Dixon, I'm sorry, one other thing you talked about going back to your subcommittee, that legislation does not go back to a subcommittee. It might start there before it comes to a standing committee, but your subcommittee is not an official committee of a standing committee of the council. So I think we have Councilman Congo. Wait a minute, I want to make sure I get it. Councilwoman Oliver, you presented, so you're going to be giving the closing comments, ma'am. And Councilman Congo, this is your second time around, so.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. We also have to keep in mind that landlords would also be our citizens.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to live outside of city limits. And at the end of the day, we just want to be fair. I think we all want to protect both parties. We want to make sure that we try to get it right. I don't think that we should defeat this. That's why I think that it's best that we send it back to committee, so that it's not defeated. That it's just kind of twerked and perfected. I think we can do that by sending it back to committee and getting more input. I don't think it's really about pushing anything off or submitting to the landlord or just submitting to the tenants. It's just trying to get it right and make sure that everyone is dealt with in a fair way. Everyone is protected, and then we just get it right the first time. I don't think that we could pass it and then try to tweak it. I think we should try to tweak it first and then make sure it's right and then pass it. So I will make a motion that this is referred to the Health, Aging, and Disabilities Committee.
No, Madam President,
Second,
Madam Predis,
second,
Madam,
point of order.
point of order. Madam President,
Hold on, I'm checking. First of all, it's already been moved back to committee again. I'm trying to see if they can go back, if that is a proper procedure to go back again.
and I still would like to say something, even though I mean, when you finish,
Yes, ma'am, I got you.
I don't have to wait to the end. I'd like to make a statement.
I can't get to my chat. Oh, I can't get to it. There's a,
May I make a comment while you're trying to get to the chat?
not yet, Councilwoman, please, because there's a motion on the floor that's been seconded.
Okay.
Okay. The Councilman Congo, could you repeat your motion again, please?
Yes, I make a motion. I make a motion that this is referred to the Health, Aging, and Disabilities Committee meeting.
Second,
It's a motion on the floor to move this legislation back to the Health and Aging Committee meeting, committee. For further review. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Those opposed,
No,
No.
makes no sense.
Hanifa, President Hanifa, can you hear me?
hold on, please. I'm trying to get a vote from the motion,
I
please.
know, but you can't hear us.
Could you, all those in favor signify by raising your hand, please. Linda, Councilman Gray and Councilman Oliver, your hands are already raised. So if you are in support of this legislation going back to committee, please raise your hand. Yes, there's Councilwoman Gray, Councilman Tanner, Councilman Congo, and Councilman Dixon, Councilman McCoy.
Councilman Guy.
Madam President, Channel 22 cannot hear us.
That's six yeas. And all those in opposed, raise your hand, please. Can everybody put your hand down and everyone else raise your hand?
Did you include Councilman Guy in
Yes,
yes?
sir. Yes, sir, I did.
Thank you, Madam President.
And that leaves us with the one, Councilman Cyril, Creel, Johnson, Councilman Oliver, and I make 5. Councilwoman Gray,
No,
well, you raised your hand, ma'am.
no, I was lowering my hand. I pushed the lower hand button. And I was trying to tell you
Okay,
Channel 22.
We got you. We heard that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The yeas have it. The legislation would move back to the Health and Aging Committee meeting. Thank you. Council. Any other legislation, Councilwoman Oliver?
No, ma'am, can I make a comment? I mean, can I? I mean, just because, no, I like this, just because I was presenting the legislation, that shouldn't have been that I couldn't make a comment.
I didn't say that you couldn't. You was gonna be the
Yes,
last.
you did. You said you're gonna be the last one, but I still should have been there and make a comment, and then I can make the last one. I had my 2 terms and you just kept cutting me off. That wasn't fair. You said you were gonna speak last. I still should have the right to speak and still speak last.
I still was going to give you the right to speak, Councilman Oliver.
But you said I had to speak last. You said,
Say your bidding.
yeah, I was gonna make a statement that when we held this up in committee, I mean, it's kind of late, but I'm still gonna make a point. When we held this up in committee before, I did my homework. I went by Quaker Hill. I went by Crestview. I went by Baynard. Went over to the Reverend Heron's building. So I did my homework on this. That's why I kept trying to raise my hand. I went to 6 high rises and spoke to the seniors, and all of them were expressing to me about the big bug issue that they had in their building. And I have over 100 signatures from 5 high rises, but you wouldn't let me speak to express what was going on in the high rises. And then we send this back to committee after I tried to share with them that it was held up before. And hopefully when I get this chance to speak to my colleagues, I'll be able to express to them that I do have a petition with these seniors, our constituents who are complaining about the bed bugs, but it's water behind the, water over the bridge now. So since you didn't let me speak.
I appreciate your input, Councilwoman Oliver. I was just following the process of the presenter having going last. And before we could get to the process, a motion was made to refer it back to committee. So that cut off all debate.
Excuse me, Madam President, but just because I presented don't mean I have to speak last. I could speak in between council members, and you cut me off. I had my hand up first. That's why I wanted to get that out, that I had a petition sitting here with these names over 5 high rise. So it's okay. I go back. I will follow up because everybody's in the house. I'll go back and share it with them. That's okay. Thank you,
Councilman Oliver.
Welcome to the club.
Really? My gosh.
Well, I mean, there's something called process that I am supposed to follow, and I'm trying to follow process, but I don't follow process. I get complacent with that too. So as we move on with the agenda, Councilwoman Hawley is not here. Councilmember Turner, any legislation tonight?
No legislation tonight, Madam President.
Councilmember McCoy?
Yes, Madam President. Okay. Madam President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 20-019, Agenda 4792. Whereas the American Diabetes Association reports that more than 30 million Americans have diabetes and 7.4 million of those adults use one or more formulations of insulin. And whereas insulin costs for diabetes patients in the United States almost tripled between 2002 and 2013 and increased by 15% to 17% from 2013 to 2016, according to the University of Southern California Schaefer Center, one of the nation's premier policy centers. Policy Map and the Center for Disease Control report that Delaware residents with diabetes pay an average of $160 for out-of-pocket costs on prescription medications.
Thank you. I move that this resolution be received, recorded, and filed and adopted by a unanimous vote.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded, resolution be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a unanimous vote on the question.
Yes, this resolution is basically expressing my strong support of Wilmington City Council, and we want to help support the passage of House Bill 263, which is downstate in Legislative Hall. And what it is that this is actually only affecting the state employees at the moment. And I feel like this really sets a precedent that we need to try to do something to help cap the amount that people pay when it comes to copay for insulin prescriptions. This would actually cap it at $100 per month. As I stated, that this is basically in support of something downstate for basically the state employees.
Are there any comments from the council? Seeing none, is there any comments from the public? There's no other comments from the council. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilwoman Gray?
Did you hear me? Yes.
Councilman Congo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver? Her mic's off. Councilwoman Oliver? Councilman Turner?
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy?
Yes.
Councilman Johnson?
Yes.
Councilman Friel,
Yes.
Councilman Adams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Yes.
Councilman Guy,
Yes.
President Shabazz.
Yes.
That's 10 yeas and 3 absent.
Declared adopted. Any legislation, Councilmember Johnson?
I have nothing tonight, Madam President.
Councilmember Friel?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember Adams?
No, Madam President, no legislation this evening. Thank you.
Councilmember Dixon?
Yes, Madam President, I have a resolution to present.
Resolution 20-020, Agenda 4793. Whereas federal law forbids discrimination when it comes to any aspect of employment, including hiring, firing, pay, job assignments, promotions, layoffs, training, fringe benefits, and in any other term or condition of employment. And whereas discrimination refers to the treatment or consideration of.
I move this resolution be received, recorded, and filed, and adopted by a yea, nay vote.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second that resolution be received, recorded, filed, adopted by yea, nay vote on the question.
Yes, Madam President. This is a resolution that strongly urges and supports the Senate Bill 192, wherein definitions of race and protective styles are expanded. And it makes clear that race and also includes traits historically associated with race, including the hair texture, and including protective styles such as braids, locks, and twists. This is a nationwide legislation that has been going around the nation regarding different states who have run into issues of race with hair discrimination. And we wanted to make sure that the city of Wilmington also has those protections in place.
Any other comments from members of council? Seeing none, any comments from the public? Seeing none, and there were no comments from members of council. Clerk, record a roll.
Councilwoman Gray,
Yes.
Councilman Congo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Oliver, Councilwoman Oliver, Councilman Turner,
Yes.
Councilwoman McCoy,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Councilman Friel,
Yes.
Councilman Adams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Dixon,
Yes.
Councilman Guy,
Yes.
President Shabazz.
Yes,
10 yeas and 3 absent.
declared adopted. Councilmember Guy.
Nothing tonight, Madam President.
Oh gosh, where'd I go? Oh, Councilmember, oh, the Councilmember Walsh is gone. Okay, we now have petitions and communications. Councilmember Gray.
Yes, I just want to address the city and First District. I hope everyone is staying healthy. If you're keeping up with the guidelines, wash your hands, wash your hands, wash your hands. Maintain your 6-foot distance. And the new guideline is to wear a mask when you go out. And hopefully you're only going out for food and other emergencies, medication, maybe to help someone. But there's some innovative ways to wear masks. I've seen on the internet where, may sound funny, but one gentleman wore a bra cup, you know, whatever works. And then there was another video where you could use boxer shorts as a mask. And it worked perfectly. So there's some innovative ways so you don't have to use up the masks that are necessary for the medical people. So stay healthy, and hopefully you can get out and get some exercise. Thank you.
Councilmember Congo.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Just want to disagree with the comments from Councilwoman Gray. Just encouraging everyone to be healthy and be smart and don't assume that like your friend or your family member may not have COVID-19. I think that's why it's spreading so quickly, is because it's not easily recognizable and people can be asymptomatic. So please just act as if everyone could be contagious. Practice safety, especially for our elderly and our children. Also, next week, I will begin to take seniors in the high rises in the 2nd District grocery shopping. Acme has allowed seniors to go grocery shopping at their grocery stores earlier than the general public. So for those seniors who live in Terry and Parkview and Baynard, I will begin to take them to the grocery store on this upcoming week. And if anyone needs any more information, please call me at 302-218-8630, 302-218-8630. I also want to congratulate Councilman Vash Turner for some of the things that he did last week for the seniors, as far as giving them gift bags, and we have some more in store for our seniors. I'll let Councilman Turner talk more about that, though. That's all. Thank you, Madam President.
Councilwoman Oliver.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. I guess I'm echoing what everyone else spoke about, just being safe with the virus, staying in the house. But Council President, I'd like to thank you for your assistance with working with Parks and Recreation and giving out the lunches over here and knocking on people's doors and directing me in the right direction. So we fed over 400 family members throughout the 3rd District. And I know a lot was given out in the high rises. So I'd like to thank you for that work. And I just tell everybody to be safe. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilmember Turner.
Thank you, Madam President. I like to also echo everyone's words and sentiments about COVID-19. I'm glad to see my colleagues to be quarantining and taking the proper precautions to making sure that we're safe and keeping everybody else safe as well. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So definitely glad to see all of my colleagues taking this serious, seeing us quarantining, self-quarantine and staying away, making sure our families are safe. I just want us to also resonate those same words to our community. Our community needs to make sure that we're doing the proper precautions to make sure that they're safe, make sure that this COVID-19 doesn't spread. We need everyone to stay still, stay safe, get your immune system right, stay indoors, take this time as to come together with your family, checking on your loved ones, maybe even doing Zoom calls to stay in touch with your loved ones to get connected, and also take this time to praise the higher power. Tomorrow, we have tomorrow's an interesting time for us in West Center City area. Tomorrow is the day that we celebrate a loved one from the community that's gone, Miss Mercedes Fields. It's unfortunate that it happened during this COVID-19 when we have to practice social distancing and stay away. I just want to reiterate that we make sure that we be safe. Everyone that goes to the homegoing, please make sure that you washing your hands, making sure to stay clear, because that is somewhere that a lot of our elders will probably attend to pay their respects. So let's make sure we be mindful of that we don't carry that in as well. And hopefully everyone is staying safe. And that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. Councilwoman McCoy. Councilmember McCoy.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize my mute was still on. Thank you, Madam President. Basically, I was just stating that it is pretty much the same theme. All that I'm asking is a little different is the fact that I am still seeing people, I guess, who are just not used to really being in the house. And so we are starting to see, like, even though the little congregations of people are not 10 or more, but just the fact that they're not practicing social distancing. So I would just really like to reiterate that it is important that we keep a distance, that if that's something that's hard for you to do, then find a mask, because we really want to try our best to make certain that this thing does not get so out of hand, that the fears that what our governor is speaking of, we don't want to see those things come to pass. So please, if you can, stay in the house. If you have to leave out, make sure you take all the precautions that are necessary. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
Yes, I again want to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Very importantly, I think we need to stress, please go to the state's COVID-19 site for information regarding access to internet. I think we've seen during this time how critical internet is, and the digital divide, especially in our city, which many are below the poverty line, is great. So please access those resources. Xfinity has a package in which if you're low income, you can qualify for low or no cost internet. So in the school districts, of course, giving out Chromebooks. And that's the most important thing we can do, is keep our community engaged so that they can get the information that we're putting out there. And really, besides that, I just encourage all to work on, obviously, health is very important, and mental health. If you have access to telemedicine, a lot of providers are now giving you access to that. So please use it. It's very important during this time, whether you're a parent stressed out with the kids at home, or someone who is living alone, or a senior. It's very stressful. So please use telemedicine. And it's an emerging trend. And we hope even after this crisis, we continue to use telemedicine. So with that, everyone stay safe.
Councilman Friel.
Thank you, Madam President. The only announcement I wanted to make was next week we start our budget hearings, and that will be Wednesday night, April 8th. And we have 3 hearings that evening. We'll start off at the mayor's office at 4 o'clock, followed by the city treasurer's office at 5:30, and then Wilmington City Council at 7 o'clock. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I'd like to approach this with regard to the businesses. Tomorrow is the first day of the Paycheck protection loans, where that you can actually go out and borrow money to keep your employees on the payroll. The whole idea behind this is part of the stimulus package to keep your businesses intact with their employees during this period of time. It's estimated to be a 2.5 month run here. So that when we do open things back up, that businesses can run then at almost full capacity and get right back into a great economy where we were before this started. So please go to the Small Business Administration's website and give your CPA a call also, and speak to them about some of the things available. Remember, these are loans at very low interest rate. In fact, they're going to increase the interest rate from 0.5% to 1% so that they get more of the smaller community banks involved in this. And quite frankly, the banks have an opportunity to make money on this too. So it's a good program. Everybody should get involved who needs it to pay their employees so they can keep their employees through this crisis, so that when everybody can start things back up, we're running at 100% again. And I just want to make sure that we don't forget your local businesses. Hey, if you're tired of cooking, get out and get some takeout, and try to do your best to support your local businesses nearby during this crisis also. Thank you very much, Madam President. That's everything I have to say.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Dixon.
Thank you, Madam President. I also just wanted to echo the sentiments of my colleagues as well, but really taking COVID-19 serious. There are a lot of and be thankful that you have a home to be stuck in when other folks who do not have a home to be stuck in and they have to go through this crisis at the same time. I do want to thank the organizations that have been doing a lot of work, so that are still out here helping. From So You Need a Tutor is actually doing this weekend, doing sandwiches for our scholars. And they do that on the weekends, and they'll be doing that again this weekend. People are getting creative, starting some Camp Coronas to kind of keep people kind of mentally stable, also entrepreneurship, real estate, all those kind of things are trying to really uplift and keep people in good spirits and help them be creative while they're home. Creative Vision Factory, which has been working a lot with our homeless population here in the city. They've been doing a great job working also with our Lieutenant Governor. The businesses, I will say to that too, of what Councilman Adams said too. If you wanted to apply for the Small Business Administration disaster, the Economic Injury Fund, I would say highly do it. I just did it and it literally only took me 15 minutes. The application is super simple. It does scare you at first by saying that's 2 hours in order for you to complete it, but that is not true. It literally only took me 15 minutes to fill out the application. So I highly suggest applying for it. And like Councilman Adams said, they're really putting it down to that you don't even need collateral. You don't even have to show that you can pay back the loan. They're really being really loose with their restrictions on their loans. So this is the opportune time to jump on it. That goes for consultants, nonprofits, small businesses, large businesses can apply for that disaster loan as well with the Small Business Administration. And then also, we heard that unemployment, you can also apply if you, for example, are making $700 or less a week. Unemployment is an opportunity for you too. That is not to say that you will get it, but that is to say that you, based on, that's what Secretary of Labor talked about yesterday, there's a good chance that you'll be able to do that. And also if you can show that you've had a really big decrease in your salary over the period of time, that unemployment opportunity is there for you. And they are processing thousands a week. So just be mindful of that, but they are getting to them within a week. So, but thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilmember Guy.
Yes, Madam President. You know, I want to go back in time for a minute because it's very interesting when you try to think ahead and you try to move a community forward, that quite often there's a lot of resistance to moving a community forward. And so I want to just share a little story with you. Right now, we are generally expecting, as the city of Wilmington, that our city employees will communicate with the city through internet access, that they'll work at home through internet access. That's generally expected. But our employees, what if they don't have internet at their home? What if they don't have computers at their home? So in some sense, if they have those things, we as the city of Wilmington are getting to benefit from what they're paying for at their home. They're able to do the work for us at their expense. So 20 years ago, and this is how crazy this world is. 20 years ago, I put in a program called the Internet Access Program. Every employee of the city of Wilmington was able to be reimbursed for having internet access. Because the object was, for me, the purpose was 20 years ago to make it so that all our employees were ahead of the curve on the digital divide. and that they were able to communicate and interact from home with the world. And that program existed for many, many, many years. That was an employee benefit. At the time, only 2 organizations in the world had internet access as an employee benefit. My legislation had it for city residents. Ford Motor Company had it for their employees. That was it. That program operated for many, many years. And there came a point in time where the Sam Guy haters were going through the code trying to eradicate things that I put in there for the benefit of people. So there's a record of who the people were who took that benefit away from the workers. But I just say that to you because that was also designed to uplift their families so that their children would grow up in homes with internet access. So my object was for Wilmington to be ahead of the curve, to be a technology-oriented city. In addition to that, that's how the computer lab was put in Southbridge, and there were also supposed to be labs put in each community. So another aspect of this has to do with, look at where we are now. We're not subsidizing them at all, the workers, but we're dependent on them to have what they need to have so that they can work at home for us. But we took away the little financial support we had to make sure that infrastructure was in place. That's what hating does to a community. Furthermore, that same internet access program was involved in trying to get dial-up access from Comcast and computers put in the home of every child that was in public school. That's where our community was supposed to be. But we live in a society where there's certain people who spend all their time trying to block progress as opposed to supporting progress. And the community suffers. So right now, Wilmington, Delaware should be a community where every house where there's a kid in public school, and it could have been any school, has internet access, and we're educating them. That's what we should have right now. No concern about whether our kids have access to the internet. But we're so busy hating that we deprive our own constituents. Next thing I want to mention to you, and there was money in the capital budget for computers. And right now, we could teach our children math. I want the school districts to provide internet access to the computerized math programming so that any kid who has access to a computer can actually continue their education. Yes, Madam President?
I was saying you have 15 seconds, sir.
Okay, that's all I have, Madam President.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to see that all members of council are safe from this COVID-19 and all the great information and efforts you have done to inform your constituents as well as provide them support resources. I know that we talk about going outside and proper masking and washing your hands. And I think we definitely need to take in consideration the directives that are coming down from the CDC that comes down through to our governor, who has now have us in a shelter in place mode, that we only should go out for essentials because once you go, excuse me, go out again, you don't know that you are recontaminating yourself, your car. We don't know how we get exactly how we're get contact with the coronavirus. So that's why the order is to kind of stay in place. Most social service support services coming through the state provisions and trickle down to us in municipalities, and we respond accordingly. And that's why all the numbers of information telling our constituents to call for different resources. I've seen that out on social media. We've done a great job in getting those numbers and information websites to our constituents so that they can get the necessary resources and supports that they can possibly get that is available to them, like the SBA loans for the businesses, the renter assistance through the Delaware State Housing Authority, and also through the CARE stimulus packet that they're looking to send siphons down to individuals who have filed their taxes 2018, 2019. There's going to be a population that didn't do that, and how we need to provide support and assistance to have those who are not maybe in those categories. How do they still get what they need to get for their continued survival? So I just want to continue to congratulate council members for their continued support out to the community. But in your efforts of going out, be sure you have your, what they call the PPE, personal protective equipment, so that you're not contaminating yourself and contaminating the people you're helping, and also bring it back to your family. I would like to share the Councilman Guy that we feel good to say the members of council is not taxing our staffing with using their own personal equipment. We have supplied all of our staff with the necessary devices so that we can continue to do the business of city council, not necessarily the internet, but the devices themselves with laptops and things of that nature, so that we can continue to do the work of city council. My last comment I'd like to say is that yesterday was Census Day, and we saw a lot of marketing and pushing and encouraging people to complete the census. It's just a 10-15 minute questionnaire. It's simply, you can go online. Everybody has cell phones. A lot of people have cell phones now, so they can easily do it from their cell phone. It's 2020census.gov. And even more than now, we definitely need to have everyone to be counted. We need to be able to get the federal dollars to come down to help us to recover from once we get out of this COVID-19 pandemic. So if you haven't, somebody who hasn't done their census, please encourage them to get it done, and continue to wash your hands, stay inside, and be safe. And with that, I accept the motion for adjournment.
So move.
Second.
Moved and adjourned. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'm the City of Wilmington. Thank you.
Thank you.